Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to what is kind of a weird collaboration situation here because it's not like an actual collaboration song, but it is a Honkai Star Rail fan song by HalaCG, and I haven't heard much from the Star Rail community in a while or the Honkai Third community, and I did start seeing comments recently from Izzy here that were saying, hey, it's been a while, and I'm like, you know what, you're right. So I went back in my comments, found this one from Star Ace that was like, hey, listen to this fan song, and I'm like, sure, why not? So like that's how we got here. But I want to give fair credit to Izzy here for reminding me that it's been so long since I've listened to anything from the Honkai family in general, and I'm going to start doing that more regularly. So thank you to Izzy and thank you to Star Ace for recommending this one. I'm not sure what I'm about to get into, but it's Rest in Harmony, so I guess we get to hear a fan song about a character I know nothing about, and I guess I'll just dissect it from my usual uninformed point of view. So I guess without further ado, let's go.
It's a cold universe.
Oh.
On the verge, on the edge, will you finally fall?
Oh.
A bold newcomer.
Not the genre I was anticipating.
Him I call. Am I alone? Maybe our lives will collide and we'll fade into stardust. We're scattered, left in the known. So reach out, trust me, I'll whisk you away. So far from the pain.
I'm listening.
Empty days. Rest in harmony, share your heart with me. Sing my song before I'm gone and keep me company. It's perfectly
Great melody.
when you're asleep. Wish along no right or wrong in this dreamer's odyssey.
The mix is kind of leaving me
Strength here
a little off-put, but I'll get into that later.
wave like the quasar I sense they're getting closer. Pray that I'll maintain composure. I'll just see.
Ooh. Kind of a filthy drum part.
Make it to the city that always sleeps. When nothing bad could happen, is that
Lovely
what
little
you
bass riff there.
believe? I'm sure no one is lurking in between our dreams. Though let's keep this speculation between you
Get a little
and
swing
me.
jazzy on the drums now.
Here come all your
What genre is this? I've heard like 3 in the past minute,
Trust me, baby.
but I'm not mad.
I know we've had this yearning all our lives. You'll love it, save me. Rest in harmony, share your heart with me. Sing my song before I'm gone and keep me company. Oh, it's perfectly kind when you're asleep. Wish along no right or wrong in this dreamer's odyssey.
It sounds really pretty. I really do love the vocal line, especially. The top line's great.
Butterfly in my mind, I float. And when I'm gone forever, will you know?
Throwing in a vocal run,
Will
show
you
off.
care when 1 year passes too, as I'm not there? I'll see your smiles from overhead. You're humming a quiet song. I promise I'll be singing along.
There's a nice mix there, having that vocal line go to the other ear.
Just
Kind of floating around in the background. Beautiful vocals. The strings are really supporting it well, too. It was like, I think I heard like rim clicks in there. That's kind of an interesting thing to throw in, especially right at that point. Good texture, though. The drum part's really fun, too. Oh. Oh, it's like a cranking. Okay, that must have been what that was. It was just kind of nestled in. It sounded kind of like rim clicks on a drum kit. Neat, though. I really like that. That's a great addition to the sound design. All right, overall, great song, but I am here to share my opinions, and I did mention at the very start, which did not really improve all the way through. The mix for me was very lacking, and with these headphones, I get a very neutral mix. They're not heavily weighted in any direction on the frequency graph at all. They're very neutral, and what I found myself hearing was that the vocals were just honestly too far in the front. And you may be saying, well, of course, you're trying to hear the vocalist. That kind of should be the case. And you're right to an extent, but they also didn't feel like they were glued in the background at all. Like, it didn't feel like the instruments and the vocals were working together in a true harmonious way. Where like the instrumental was supporting the vocals. It's not like that wasn't happening. It just felt like the vocals were too present in the mix overall. But I personally would have pulled the vocals back just a little bit so things don't feel like they're too separate, because like right now they feel like they're about this far apart, and they should probably be about here, with like the vocals this close, still in front, but at the same time not nearly this far apart. It just feels a little too separate, so it almost feels like a cover song. Whereas it should feel like, because it is an original song, more cohesive. That mix is just a little too torn apart. It's like paint separating off a wall. It's just a little off, and I would have personally preferred to see that a little bit tighter together in the mix. But of course, that's a very subjective thing, and with different software and hardware, you're gonna have different results from different people. So I really don't want to harp on it as like a purely bad thing, but at the end of the day, it definitely feels like it's still too separate. Even if I were to remove the subjectivity of it and just talk about the objective way that music works in the ears, I think her vocals were just a little too far forward and the instrumental was just too quiet. And I would correct that by gluing them together in the mix a little bit more. But right now it just really feels like her vocals were just straight up turned up on a mixer, so it doesn't really have any way to blend those together. It just feels very off to me. But as far as the instrumental and song overall goes, it was very well written. Like, I'm not trying to diss that at all. The vocals were phenomenal. She sang it very beautifully. I loved her vocal qualities. It just rang so well. Her voice just worked with this so well. She's got an amazing range. I could tell that she was well trained and well practiced. And the instrumental as well was well written. It was very well constructed throughout, even having little creative changes in there, like that whole swing section that felt very, very different compared to the heavy metal stuff that we had just gotten out of. So I'm just like, whoa, where are we? And then like the funky bass riff, like they were definitely having fun with writing this song, and I like those changes because it keeps the brain awake, and it also allows for a lot more creativity in the songwriting process overall. And even things like that sound design, having that like cranking sound going in there, like they're cranking up some sort of mechanical device. I really like that. I don't know if that relates to the character at all. I assume it does, and that's why they threw it in there. But even that aside, it just sounded really cool and it fit in there well. And like I said, it almost sounded like rim clicks in the mix, so that adds an extra texture that doesn't distract from the rest of the music behind it. It blends in well with the drum kit, and it was all mixed otherwise very well. It was just that separation of the two that I felt could have been a little bit tighter. And while I'm not a composer, I am a drummer, and I was noticing some very fun things that they were doing with the drum kit in here, which I could tell was very likely at least programmed drums just by the way that they sounded. But that's not really a problem as long as you write them well, and a lot of this just sounded good. It just sounded right. A lot of the way it sounded was stuff that I would do, patterns I would use if I were to write for this exact same song, if I were handed this without drums. It's stuff that makes sense, and it shows that the writer, the composer of this song, understood that assignment, understood drums, and knew how to make them work with the song. And albeit some of it was a little bit weird, like some of it I wouldn't have gone for just because it was a little bit too much at times, I think. At the same time, it wasn't distractingly so. Like, it might have been a little bit much, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was bad. It just means that it's stuff I would have personally simplified for. But also stuff like that one fill that goes all the way down the toms, just running down there, totally something I would have personally thrown in just because it fills that space really nicely. It was very well written. I have no qualms with that. Really, I think my only bummer about this song is that the vocals were a little bit too prominent compared to the rest of the instrumental, and I really would like to see that tightened up. If they ever do like a remaster of the song or a remix of it, I would love to hear that tightened up a little bit more. And the lyrics are really well done too. Like, just because I don't know the character doesn't mean I can't respect the lyrics for what they are, and I do think they made a lot of sense. They weren't like nonsensical random spouts of English. They were just proper lyrics in a song. They flowed well, and again, she sang them beautifully, so that definitely helps the process as well. And it just works. It just feels good. I have no other qualms about this song. It was just that one aspect about the mix that I would like to see tightened up if they were to ever readdress this later on, but I'll digress there. This was a really nice reintroduction of sorts to the Honkai Star Rail and Impact Third corner of music that I've been neglecting for far too long now, and I hope to get back into it. So if you have any songs you want me to listen to from the actual soundtrack or any other fan songs, if people are willing to let me react to those, leave them in the comments below and I will do my best as always to get to them. And of course, if you just like this video and you want to see more of those in the future, like I mentioned earlier, I plan to make those more regular, maybe every other week or so, depending on how my schedule works, but definitely more regular than I used to do them, which was basically never. But of course, if you do want to see all that and you do want to request something, you know how to follow me and support me and all that, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!